So this video is going to start with our chickens. And so we have our Ascaridia, and what we have with here, Ascaridia species, so it is going to be in the fowl, so our chickens and our birds. Parentinic is going to be an earthworm. Most of the life cycle is direct, but it can go to an earthworm and then they ingest the earthworm as well. Eggs, the big thing with these is that there's like a gap between the egg and the outside, and then the edges are not filled, and it takes 1 week in the environment for them to be infective. So the infective stage is the egg, and then the diagnostic stage is also the egg. Like I said, life cycle is direct. Pathology, these live in the small intestines. Symptoms, they're going to have decreased body condition, enteritis, because it's in the small intestines, anemia, and decreased egg production. To diagnose it, you mainly do a fecal float. You can do adults and necropsy. Treatment is going to be fenbendazole, but what's great is that there is no withdrawal time with fenbendazole for the chickens. To control it, you have to do good sanitation because these eggs are very hardy, and you probably should keep the young separate from the adults. This is Heterachus gallinarum, which is also known as the poultry cecal worm. So it being a poultry cecal worm tells you that it is in the large intestines. The definitive host is going to be fowl. There's a very important thing about this with turkeys, which I'll get to in a second. Paratinic host is going to be the same as what was with Ascaridia, so earthworms. The eggs, comparing this to Ascaridia, there aren't gaps with the egg and the shell. So that's a way to tell the difference. Life cycle is going to be direct, so that means that the infective and the diagnostic stage are going to be eggs. Pathology, like I said, it goes to the large intestines. It is a vector of Histomonas melligridis. I remember it as H goes with H, and that can cause blackhead disease. Blackhead disease is really bad, specifically in turkeys. So, to repeat, Heterachus gallinarium vectors Histomonas melligridis, which causes blackhead disease, which is bad in turkeys. Symptoms, just the Heterachus gallinarium alone, not what it vectors. It doesn't really do much. It requires a heavy burden to cause depression and unthriftiness, but most of the damage would come from what it vectors instead. You can do a fecal float. You can look at the history and look for the worms on necropsy. And treatment, most of the time you can assume with chickens or fowl, it'll be fenbendazole and then piperazine. So this is Syngamous trachea, also known as the gapeworm. And this is one that is more so found in wild birds or game birds, so they're not going to be in indoor birds. The only way that indoor birds are going to get them is if they are exposed to those outside wild birds. The biggest thing is that the eggs are bioperculated. The life cycle is direct. Pathology, it goes to the trachea, but there is 2 different ways that it can cause damage. If it's the larva, as they're migrating, it can cause hemorrhage, edema, and pneumonia. The adults themselves, though, can cause obstructive tracheitis, which is where the name trachea comes from. Symptoms is what is called spasmodic dyspnea. So it'll be basically it's suffocating and trying to breathe. So gaping, open mouth breathing, asphyxia, and then with that larval migration, you may have some emaciation and anemia. Since it's a direct life cycle, infective stage is egg, diagnosis stage is egg. Diagnosis, you can do the fecal float, but you can also do a tracheal wash to be able to find the adults or the larva. Treatment, there is no FDA labeled drugs, but you can always use fenbendazole or the benzimidazoles group. Main way to control is just don't let them interact with wild birds. Don't keep the birds on the same ground, rotate them, and then keep the pens dry as well.